you very seldom hear of poaching. There was a case of some of these guys were killed in the Congo, in an adjoining forest where the other half of these gorillas live. Somebody got in and killed 3 or 4 or 5 of these guys back in. It might have been the late 90s, but there was a whole issue of, not a whole issue, but a big article in National Geographic about this because it's so rare for people to get in and kill these animals. And they could find no reason. They hadn't harvested body parts, you know, to ship off anywhere. So it's very rare for these animals to be, for people to go in and try to kill them. But they are protected by law. You know, they're critically endangered and very well protected, yeah.
You were talking earlier about you're not supposed to get within so many feet. Yeah,
they had a little row of bricks, a little brick path there, and said, okay, that's 7 meters, that's 21 feet. Don't get closer than that. So when we got there, we kind of remembered that, but basically the ranger would remind somebody if they got a little close. And it was kind of interesting because at one point, one of the members of our group, and there were only about 8 or 10 of us, went like that, and somebody said, what was it? And then we saw this little kid, little baby gorilla, brushed right past it because he somehow got behind us, and Mama was over there, so he went by, and he said, I'm coming right by you. And I think he probably purposely banged him, as he went by, And it's like, whoa, and of course the rangers were a little upset because, what if this guy had bacteria on his pants that might affect it.
Oh, yeah.
Because, see, that's one of the great dangers of people going in to see these animals is that we might bring in something. So if you're not healthy the day of the trek, you don't go.
Yeah. Boy, could you imagine after planning for a year and not being able to go in?
Yeah, they have very strict rules, so.
Yeah.
So anyway, that was so exciting. And then after the hour, we couldn't believe it was over, they said, okay, the time's up, and so we kind of, regretfully packed up our cameras and started hiking out. And then hiking out, we were going a different way because we'd wandered so far, so we kept asking the ranger, are you sure you know where we're going? She said, yeah, I do this every day. So we're sliding down these muddy slopes, into creeks and
looks the same.
Climbing up slimy slopes, to the other side. And just hand over hand through these thick vines and so forth.
Was this rainforest?
It's rainforest, yeah.
Now, did you ever encounter any animals that made you feel scared?
Not really, no.
Nothing?
The gorillas, there was, I guess, sort of an amusing incident that I got an email about 6 months after we were there. Is one of the gorillas had maybe grabbed somebody, shaken him or something. I don't know what it was, but it was just in manner of play. And nobody was harmed, and everybody had a big laugh. I'm sure the guy that got grabbed probably wasn't laughing for a few minutes, but no, they're very gentle animals, and when you see the videos of them playing, you realize, that. And the one that we showed last week of the mother gorilla climbing up the tree with her 2 babies, and everything, you realize that these animals are so they're like humans, and they don't regard humans as a threat now. Humans would never come in and shot them.
Yeah.
And the little kids, the ranger said the reason that little kid brushed by him so close is that he grew up in a habituated group. So from the time he was born, he was seeing people every day. So he thinks they're part of the gang. So.
How about snakes, spiders, anything like that? And did you have to be vaccinated before?
Well, any travel to third world, you really do have to have certain vaccinations, and so yeah, we had all our vaccinations. We didn't see snakes or spiders, not even too many insects. The elevation's fairly high at this point. This forest is fairly near the equator. It's probably a couple hundred kilometers south of the equator, so but it's fairly high in elevation, so it's hot, but it's not oppressively hot. It's not like being in the desert or something.
I'm trying to envision your state. Where did you sleep? Where did you eat? Were you? And you were in the jungle because it's rainforest. But is there anything near what we have here in the States? I'm trying to figure out.
The forest itself. It'd be hard to find anything in this country probably that mimicked it. Probably if you went up in the northwestern United States into some of the rainforest up there, or if you get up into Vancouver Island in Canada, some of the rainforest there has never been harvested. Wow. But this forest has never been logged, ever. So it is primeval, and the area where we stayed, where the CTPH headquarters is, that's outside the forest. So it's mostly farmland. They grow a lot of tea there, and they grow some coffee. They grow grains, corn, wheat, and so forth. Things that they need to eat. Of course, a lot of bananas, and they have about 4 or 5 different kinds of bananas. Some of them are not even sweet; they're cooked up as starch, like a potato would be. So each little farmstead has its own garden and so forth that they grow things. And then the tea is all grown commercially. and that's gathered into bags every day, and it's picked leaf by leaf. People go through these fields and pick that leaf by leaf. They're picking the best leaves and throwing them in a bag. They dump all these bags out, put them in bigger bags, and trucks come through and take them to the processing facility. And that's done on a commercial basis. A lot of people make their living, raising tea. But it's very hilly. If you let it go, it'll grow right back into what would starting to look like a forest again. But so much of it's cultivated, because land is precious. And even though this is a rural area, it's one of the more densely populated rural areas in the country, in Uganda. So every inch of land counts.
So is it working as far as the industry? Well, I don't want to call it industry, but is it working where the people are somehow using the land to make a living?
I think it is, and one thing I don't I don't know, and I intend to find out more about it next time I go, is whether the concept of fair trade is being applied there. We hear a lot about that with respect to coffee and other things. And so I don't know what the people who gather these leaves get paid, and it would be interesting to know more about that. I am skeptical that they're being paid fully for their efforts, and the same for the people who own the land. But so far as the agriculture itself, it seems to be done very sustainably. This is very steeply hilled countryside, and so the things are planted, parallel to the land contours, and such that you don't get erosion during the heavy rain period. But it seems to be working. I just kind of hope that the locals are getting their share of it.
Would you say that again? How they're planted?
Well, the tea is in rows. I mean, it's the tea plants are in rows. The tea plants are maybe 3 feet high, something like that. And the rows are horizontal, so to speak. They're not running up and down the hill. They're running along the contours of the hill. And so when they're picking, they're not going down and then back up and then down. They're going down one row at the same level, picking that row, turn it to the next row, drop down 3 feet, go down this row, drop down 3 feet, go down the next row. Like that. So this prevents, and there's grass, of course, growing in between. It prevents erosion of the land.
Okay.
So it can be farmed on a steep hillside without erosion. So all those things seem to be done very sustainably. They're not violating the land in that respect.
So there aren't. I'm trying to go back to. Are there stores? Are there?
Yes. Yeah. In fact, where the conservation through public health facility is just off the main little road, and as you walk that path or the road or drive it up to the park headquarters, there's little fruit stands and everything else all along the way. Little stores, and there's local handcrafts. This is another thing. The ecotourists come in. They want a little carved gorilla. Yeah. So they go into one of these little shops and they buy. So the local craftsmen are supported as well. Yeah.
Now, if I wanted to find the ecotourist lodging that you're talking about, how would I find that?
Well, we're going to show the website in a minute, not the site itself, but the name of it. It's ctph.org. So if you want to just load in www.ctph.org, it'll bring you onto the website. And they have information there about how you would book lodging. And even though where we stayed, was in sort of a safari tent, there are some beautiful 4-star lodges there too. If you wander off this little road where all the little shops are and go down a nice little path, you come to this lodge you wouldn't believe. I mean, it is really top notch. So if you've got the money, you can live in luxury. Personally, we loved living in a safari tent. Yeah. It was great. And we were able to talk to the people that worked with these animals every day. So it was great.
Now, is it safe politically?
Uganda is a very stable country. They have their politics just like anybody else, and but it's a very stable country. If you remember history, Idi Amin was the dictator in Uganda, 30, 40 years ago. Was a horrible man. I mean, they were killing anybody that got in their way, and he was eventually overthrown by who's now the current president, and his soldiers were very responsible. They weren't looting and raping when they came in and finally overthrew Idi Amin. And the country's been very stable since then. So there are parts of the big cities like Kampala that I wouldn't want to wander around by myself at night. But I've wandered through Kampala during the daytime by myself and always felt fine. People speak to you on the street. It's a very crowded, jammed together city, but you're banging around trying to get through the human traffic. But everybody says hi, and English is the official language of the country. I was just going to ask that. Okay. So anyone who's been to school more than a few years can get along with English there, and if you're in commerce or you're talking to people who are educated further, their English is great.
So Boy, we could do a third show. But tell me, who supports the CTPH, and is there a way for us to get involved and sort of help out
Very
with this?
much, very much so. A lot of their funding comes from foundations. You know, the Robert Wood Johnson Foundation, for instance, made a large donation for them to buy some land. And part of their future planning is to build a large facility there, and it'll be a guerrilla facility for bringing in the locals for education, bringing in the ecotourists to educate them about the gorillas, to do research, you know, on the gorillas. They're going to have facilities there for visiting scientists to come in and conduct their own research and so forth, have wonderful lab facilities. So we're trying to raise money to help do this. They think the building is going to cost about $100,000 US, and to equip it with all the scientific equipment, furniture and so forth, will be probably another $100,000. So there's a big fundraising going on now worldwide. Dr. Gladys won this wonderful award in England that had a fairly large financial stipend, and so that's going to be applied to it. There's a group out on the West Coast that's working on raising funds, and I'm supposed to be the East Coast person, and I'm just getting started, but yes, we are trying to raise some money. You can actually go on the website, and there's a place there that you can go in and make a secure donation. If anybody wants to do it in person, they can contact me through the Kedron Valley Veterinary Clinic where I work.
457-3135.
Yeah, got that memorized.
I've got that memorized. Also, it's www.ctph.org.
Right.
We'll get that printed
Right.
up. But I know you were talking about the need for a solar-powered refrigerator.
Refrigerator, right. There's no electricity there, so everything is solar-powered. They have a solar-powered freezer at this point, and this was contributed by a veterinarian from Andorra, which is a principality on the border of Spain and France. It's way up in the mountains. He works part-time for the government there, so he has a lot of connections, and so he was able to get a nice grant to buy this solar-powered refrigerator. So I said, well, look, we Yankees are not going to be outdone. We'll try to get you a refrigerator. So I'm afraid I haven't gotten too far yet, but we're working on that.
Maybe
so
we will.
Contributions. I had them go out and get a bid for it, and you're not going to believe, but this solar-powered refrigerator with the solar panels, the converters, the extremely well insulated refrigerator there is about $11,000 US.
Wow.
So I thought, hey, we'll go down to the store and we'll buy a $1,000 fridge and we'll put a couple panels, but you have to do this as a system, and it's got to be the battery power has got to be enough to keep it running during the night and during a cloudy day and so forth. So it's a very elaborate system, but this is going to be used in their current little lab. Hopefully, we'll get it before the new one, and then it'll eventually go in the new lab, when it's built and so forth. So yes, we're looking for people who'd like to contribute. Hopefully, you're contributing to saving a species which is critically endangered.
And One Health. So actually, we're talking about world health and world population.
Yeah, there are things that are going to be learned, hopefully, in this new facility that'll help protect. When scientists come in and do their research there to kind of learn more about some of these diseases, how we can prevent them from spreading into people, and not only saving the animals but improving our life.
This has been a really interesting, educational, and fun episode. Thank you so much for coming. And maybe we can have an update in a few months from now?
Yeah, sure.
Let's, Dr. Murrell, Kedron Valley. Is it Valley anymore? Now that you're in
still
Woodstock?
says Valley, right.
Kedron Valley Veterinary Clinic in Woodstock, 457-3135. $11,000. That should be doable.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, we're going to get it together. Yeah.
Thank you very much. And thank you very much for watching For the Animals, and please tune in again.
At dusk, there came a turning. There was a moment when all was known. You could feel beauty rising on the breeze that shapes the stone, and I would ride upon the breeze that shapes the stone across the sky and beyond, to that place where all is known, when I could fly, when I could fly.